The final campaign push is underway in California's recall election. 45 candidates are looking to unseat Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. Only one California governor has been ousted in a recall effort. Millions of voters have already taken advantage of early voting and cast their ballots. For more, I want to bring in Alexei Koseff. Alexei is a state capitol reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle. Alexei, welcome. First, let's talk about the latest polling. Where does this race stand now?
So, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, a race that once looked like it might be very close seems to be settling back into this sort of partisan divide that we might expect in California. The most recent poll last week from the Public Policy Institute of California showed that Gavin Newsom was up about 19 points, which would be about in line with his victory in 2018. And that would be a big turnaround from earlier this summer when it seemed like things were very, very close in terms of the yes and no side among likely voters.
Well, President Biden and Vice President Harris are expected to campaign for Governor Newsom in the coming days. How might their support help the governor in this fight for his political future?
Well, Kamala Harris, the vice president, is a California native and a longtime political ally of Governor Newsom's. And President Biden also remains fairly popular here. So having them come out here as President Biden has promised to do and as Vice President Harris is expected to do tomorrow, is really a show of both support to Newsom and also a reminder to Democratic voters that, hey, we've got Governor Newsom's back. If you like us, you should like him to vote no on the recall, keep him in office, keep that Democratic agenda going, and really just remind them to get their ballots in.
Well, Governor Newsom's handling of the pandemic is one of the biggest drivers behind this recall effort. How is the pandemic shaping each of the candidates' campaigns?
That absolutely, from the beginning, has been a central focus of this campaign. The very strong response from Governor Newsom to the pandemic, including the first statewide lockdown in the country last year, helped fuel the signature gathering that put this recall on the ballot. And so as a result, many of the candidates who are running to replace him have criticized his response to the pandemic and made it a central part of their campaigns. But as we've seen over the last couple of months with the Delta variant leading to a fourth wave of cases here in California, there seems to now have been a shift in public opinion. And we see that a lot of people are very supportive of the governor taking steps, including reimposing a mask mandate in schools, requiring that healthcare workers and state government employees and school staff all get vaccinated. They're very supportive of these kinds of policies, and it seems to be helping the governor along at the very end of this campaign. He has made it a central message in these closing weeks, even calling it in one ad a matter of life or death that he remain governor, because if he doesn't, then you'll get a governor in his place who will undo many of his pandemic restrictions and potentially lead to a worsening of the spread of the virus here in California.
Well, what are some of the other key issues that candidates are focused on the most in this final stretch of their campaigns?
I think what you hear in these campaigns are many of the issues that ordinary Californians are talking about all the time. Obviously, homelessness is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, issues facing California right now. And you can see it everywhere in cities across California. And so there's been a lot of criticism from candidates running to replace Newsom that the state hasn't done enough to get people off the streets. We're also in the middle of another record wildfire season. There are multiple big fires burning right now in California, and it's been a big source of contention. Has the state done enough to clear brush and reduce the intensity of these fires or prevent them from happening in the first place? And then another issue that's getting talked about a lot is crime. Like many places, California last year saw a surge in homicides. It was very out of proportion with an otherwise fairly flat crime rate, but certainly that fear of that return of violent crime is very real for people. And a lot of the recall candidates are hitting that hard and saying that Governor Newsom has not done enough, and they would come in and they would do more to ensure that California is really keeping people safe.
It'll be really fascinating to see which messages resonate, especially since this is a special recall election. Alexei Koseff, Alexei, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.